All right, we're going to start. I just want to do one to refresh what we did on Friday, because these are the first time that you've ever had the trinomials that had a number in front of x squared. All of the ones we've done in the days before that only had x squared. So what we did on Friday is we had the whiteboards and we practiced, first of all, going to two sets of parentheses, and we factored the first term. The first term, you ask yourself, what multiplies to give me 2x squared? So you have to factor the 2 and the x squared. So that would be 2x times 1x. And that's the only factors that you have that would multiply to give 2x squared. Let's go to the last one. So you factor the first, then you factor the last. What multiplies to give 3? Well, it's 1 times 3. And luckily, there's not many factors of that either. So what I would do is I'm going to remind myself that when the last term is positive, we're going to mentally add to get the middle. So I'm actually going to be adding to get -5. But I got to do it with the factors of 2x squared and 1 and 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put the numbers in here. I know it's going to have to be 2x times 1x. So when we first do these, we do a little trial and error. So you ask yourself, well, where do I put the 1 and the 3? And if I don't know where to put the 1 and the 3, I may go 1 and 3, and I just put them in there. You have to check by doing the inners and the outers. So this is where your whiteboards come in. You multiply the inside ones, and you multiply 1 and 1x, and you get 1x. Then you multiply the ones on the outside. 2x times 3 is 6x. Now we're going to remind ourselves that we're supposed to mentally add to get the middle. If I mentally add to get the middle, I get 7x. So I did not get the factors of this correct on my first try. So I have to try again. I know it's got to be 1 and 3, so I got to switch places with the 1 and the 3. So now I'm going to put the 3 in the front and the 1 in the back. Now if I do trial and error, I would do 3 times 1 is 3x. 2x times 1 is 2x. Now when I mentally add, I do get 5x. Now, I have to also consider my signs. Now I'm going to really look at my signs. I need it to be a -5x. So that means a -3 added to a -2 would equal -5. So if I trace it back, the 3 has to be negative, and the 2x all the way over here to the 1, that also has to be negative. All right, and that is a little bit of trial and error. Okay, so we now know the answer is 2x minus 3 and 1x minus 1. All right, I'm going to go ahead to number 2, and I'm doing the first 2, and then I'm going to give you the next 4 for you to do to warm up the class, to kind of refresh. All right, I'm actually going to do this one with the second. We did part 2 that day, and part 2 is a method called slide, divide, and what else? Bottoms up. And you have these notes. You have them. They're steps. The thing about this method is some people like it, some people don't, but you have to remember the steps. So this is day 2 of remembering the steps. The first one is slide. That means take the first number A and the last number, we're going to slide those together. If we multiply 5 times -24, I believe we get 120, and that's a -120. -120. And then I'm going to put the one on the bottom, -26. Now these are bigger numbers, okay? But I'm going to mentally ask myself, and I'm going to have to multiply to get 120, and I'm going to add to get 126. Now I've been noticing some of you will take the thing and you will say, what multiplies to give 120? So I do 100, 1 times 120 is 120. 2 times what is 120? 60. I think if you check, 3 goes into 120 40 times. 4 goes into 120 30 times. 5 goes into 120. See, 120 divided by 5. 24 times. I think I've actually done enough to find my answer, but let's just ask ourselves this. The last term is a -24. So I need to remember that I'm going to mentally have to subtract So which pair of factors subtracts to be 26? Which ones? 1 times, see, that one doesn't subtract. 60 subtract 2, that's not 26. 40 subtract 3, well, that's 37, that's not. What about 30 subtract 4? Yep, that's it. 30 subtract 4. So if I do 30 and 4, and I'm mentally going to subtract, it will give me 26. The bigger number wins the sign, so 30 is negative. Okay? So that tells me my first parenthesis, and that's where you have to, that's where you really got to know how to do the method. The first parentheses would be x minus 30 and x plus 4. Now, all of that was really just after we did the slide step. Now we have to do divide. Do you remember what we divide? We're going to divide by A. A is 5. So I'm going to divide the numbers by 5. Okay? I'm going to divide the numbers by 5. If they divide out evenly, great. If they don't, we're going to do the last step, and that's what? Bottoms up. Okay. So now, let's write our second set of parentheses, which hopefully will be our final answer. Does 30 divide by 5? Yes. So that becomes x subtract what? 6. Okay. 30 divides by 5 and becomes 6. Okay, on the next step, does 4 divide by 5? No. So in that case, I have to do the bottoms up step. 5 is going to come in the front, 5x plus, and the top number is 4. This should be the factors of number 2 that give me 5x squared minus 26x minus 24. I tried to refresh today. I did one with trial and error, and I did one with slide divide bottoms up. You now have class time to finish 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to take about 20 minutes, and then we got to go on to the next part of our lesson.